Hello, learners. Hope you are keeping well and studying smart so that we can get those top marks at the end of the year. Obviously, you'll study smart. You are geographers, and we know geographers are very intelligent. Learners, you have been requesting for numerous occasions for the prescribed sections in economic geography of South Africa for me to do presentations. So although I have a bit of a congestion, and I do apologize for that, I'll be speaking through my nose on various occasions. But yes, I've adhered to that. And of course, it's always there that I want you to get good marks. So I will definitely listen to you. Today, we're actually dealing with the economic geography of South Africa, and we will be focusing on the Coega IDZ, of course, Industrial Development Zone. And you'll notice in brackets I put in SEZ, and that refers to Special Economic Zones. This is the new name that we use for industrial development zones. So if you're doing a little research and you want to get more information, and you see SEZ written there, it's actually the same thing, okay? And then also we'll be looking at the Wild Coast Spatial Development Initiative, SDI. All right, so let's get going. Now, I just want to bring to your attention some of the prescribed sections for economic geography has been covered in my previous presentations. For instance, the one on maize has been done in previous presentations. The Gauteng PWV, Core Industrial Region, and the Port Elizabeth Uitenhage Core Industrial Region has also been covered, okay? So is the platinum product from mining that has also been covered. What we're looking at then that's left from the presentations is the Coega IDZ and the Wild Coast SDI. So our focus is going to be on those two sections, and that would have completed everything. So for the other ones, you can look at previous presentations and you will find them there. Okay, so let's start looking. And of course, again, it must be brought to your focus that whenever you are studying, right, to sit with the examination guideline to get clarification that you've covered everything. Okay, and in this section on the IDZs and the SDIs, you'll notice that you need to have a definition and a difference between IDZs and SDIs, a map showing the location of the prescribed IDZ and SDI, and then factors influencing location of the prescribed IDZ and SDI again, and of course the main industrial activities, factors that favor and hinder development of those SDIs, and of course the economic and social impacts of the IDZ and SDIs. So we do need to make sure we've covered everything. All right, now let us look at, again, I know every time we do IDZs and SDIs that we always look at what are they first. And it's important in order to put the section into perspective and context. All right, so let's look at the industrial development zone. What is it? To encourage manufacturing, okay, in areas that and use resources of those areas to produce goods instead of importing them. Beneficiation. All right, that's what we want to do. And in geography, you learn that. All right, so we're not just taking places and just producing. We're using the resources of those places in order to produce goods instead of buying them from other countries. And that's good, because if we produce, we can export to other countries, making more money. All right. And also we can supply our own people of our country would produce goods instead of buying from somewhere else. All right. But it's using the resources. So where are they located? They're located around transport routes that have international links so that we could export easily and cheaper, all right, to other countries. All right, like example, a harbor, sometimes it's an airport, etc. And this is in order to promote exports. So this is our zone. It's a specific area, as you can see on this, all specific areas. It is just a zone in an area, all right, with important transport routes to export stuff. Okay. Then you have your spatial development initiatives. And here it's to promote growth in areas that are underdeveloped. Okay, poverty is there, unemployment is very high, all right? But these areas do have economic potential, okay? For instance, if you're going to look at the Wild Coast, it's beautiful with oceans and lovely scenery, etc. So that's the potential we will use, okay? And sometimes it's known as spatial corridors, like the Maputo, all right, because it's built along an area, improving transport routes, etc. So example, the creation of jobs is the big thing here, to uplift those communities, etc., and improved infrastructure to attract foreign investors. Because if you build beautiful roads, etc., you will definitely attract people, because it's creating accessibility and things like that. So that's your differences and your explanations of the Industrial Development Zone and the Spatial Development Initiative. Okay, let's go on. Let's start looking at the Coega IDZ, also known as your special economic zones. Okay, we obviously have to look at the location, all right? And we see it's located here in the Eastern Cape, all right? That's where its location is, all right? And it's so nice that we actually doing the Wild Coast, which is in the Eastern Cape, and one of our core industrial areas is the PE Uitenhage area, which is in Eastern Cape also, so we can have a lovely linkage between those sections, all right? So it's located near Berbera, all right, and I apologize, Coega. All right, I'm always at a little challenge. It's a beautiful word, but if I pronounce it incorrectly, please, my apologies to all those involved. All right, but I will do my best. Coega, all right, which is the new name for Port Elizabeth. All right, as many of you know already. So it's located near Coega, in Port, or also known as Port Elizabeth, in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. All right. And the Coega IDZ, what was it developed for? It was, again, as in IDZs, to attract investments. And there's specific groups or sectors that it looked at. I will give you a further explanation of each one when we look at the main industries, but we looked at a variety: metals and metallurgical, automotive, agro-processing, chemicals, logistic, general manufacturing, services, including business process outsourcing, energy, all right, trade solutions, training, and maritime. So it's a massive project that has brought quite a lot of success to the area, all right, because of the various things that it has potential for and has sort of tried to attract in the area. So what is the aim of this? To drive local and foreign investment in export-orientated industries, to bring people from other countries and local people, get them involved, get them to put up industries, get them to produce beneficiation so that we can export. All right, because our thing is that we want to position South Africa as a trade hub, that people want to come and trade with us, which is important for economic development. All right. Now, the main industries in the area. All right. One is the automotive, where you assemble and manufacture vehicles. Your famous Volkswagen, Isuzu, etc., are all found here. Then it's agro-processing. Okay, processing of different agricultural products, fishing, etc. Okay, where you make products from them. And of course, in this area, we have a lovely Mediterranean climate, and therefore it allows us for various types of products, and around 20 different products are made for agro-processing. Chemicals, example, things like plastic and paints, all right, which are produced here. Energy, both renewable and conventional. Renewable things like natural gas and looking into nuclear power, etc. All right. Electronics, assembly and manufacture of it, you understand, in the area. Metals and metallurgical, that's metal industries where the metals or ions are refined and the production of goods from the metals. Business processing, I'm getting tired with the number of activities that are found here in this area. All right, business processing, that's outsourcing. Here they have developed space and world-class infrastructure to encourage business to come in and also outsource to them in terms of what speciality they have. Maybe they're bringing logistics, etc. All right, from business outsourcing. And then logistics itself, all right. And I know many people, we just mentioned logistics. What is it also? It's the processing and planning and executing of efficient transportation and storage of goods. All right. Your logistics comes in because you need to store and you need to transport within the country and export. All right. And then, of course, agriculture, that's a cultivation of marine animals and plants. And then maritime sectors, because there's a port there, a harbour port in this area, Kura, all right, and where you actually will do things like ship repair, etc. Then the training institutions related to the development zone activities, because now you need to train because of new skills being required, etc. Okay, so that also pops up, right? Bulk cargo, because we have this Deepwater port in the area in Kura, all right, which then allow us to take bigger goods, etc. Okay, and of course, I don't know why I like electronics and manufacture, which I've covered there, but maybe electronics is a new generation. That's why I'm repeating it down there. Okay, so various industrial, main industries or sectors have been created in this area. Okay, we can see the car here. We can see the metal manufacturing and processing, etc. Okay, now, factors that favor this Coega IDZ, and there are various factors also. The first thing I'm going to highlight is the transport infrastructure. All right. By the way, learners, I've read your one comment. You want to talk about the explain how, explain why, the factor, qualifier. I have done a lesson on that, and it's on YouTube also. Please look to that. But nevertheless, when I'm discussing this section, and if it allows me to, I'm going to bring in the explain why, how, etc., by using some of the things and putting those things into context for this section here. Okay, so that will further help you understand that. So transport infrastructure, which gives you access to international markets, all right, and also local markets, but we have beautiful things or infrastructure that can allow us to export our goods, etc. Now look at what we have here. In the Coega, there's accessibility to 3 ports. One right there, that's a Deepwater harbour or port, okay, which Deepwater port allows bigger ships to come in because deeper. So when bigger ships can carry more goods, which makes it more effective and also cheaper because you're carrying larger cargo. Okay, so it's more cargo, and that's in Kura that you find in the area. And my apologies again if I pronounce it incorrectly, but it's also another beautiful name, all right, that's found right there by the Kuka. Then we have the harbour or port at Coega, which also known as, now is known as Port Elizabeth, now known as Coega, which is nearby. And of course, the East London harbour port that's nearby also. So it gives us accessibility to 3. And remember, water transport is cheaper. We also have the Chief David Steelman International Airport that's nearby. So we even have air available. And then we have things like our road, rail, shipping routes to the rest of Africa. And remember, Africa is an important trading partner of ours. All right, so we can encourage that with our routes like rail, road, besides shipping. It's very, very important. All right. Another thing about this area, it's centrally located for trade between east and west, which is beautiful because we towards the center. So we are exposed or have easier accessibility to the eastern countries and the western countries. All right. We have storage facilities, as you can see here, at the Kura port, where we have beautiful storage facilities, etc. And they can store their cargo. And you know what's cargo, eh? I've explained that in other presentations, goods and merchandise conveyed by ship, plane, etc. So we have storage facility. There's sufficient land available, and this will help with agro-processing if you have to do agriculture, etc. And accessibility to the major core industrial regions. There may be a little bit of a distance away, but our roads and railways link us. And in fact, we have one right there, the Uitenhage area, our core industrial region is right near, in fact, the Kuka is there. You understand, in that region. So we have a market there, we have a market in all the other core industrial regions, okay, and we link to them very, very well. I put this point in terms of seeing the various initiatives that have been taken at the Kuka IDZ, and that is, they were very skillful. They actually created clusters dedicated to specific investments sectors. And this is, it shows maximum efficiency, costs are reduced, all right, here through sharing of services. So if it's the automotive sector, they had all of them together in a cluster. So they will use more common things for them. You understand, in terms of building of your cars and whatever technology is needed in cars. So they are put in one place. So it's easier. They have common needs and they can share them, all right, between them, which is excellent, and that will encourage investments. So this, together with various other initiatives, it actually continues to bring new investment in the area. Every time you find new investors coming, and new investors are needed in this. So in a certain way, it also does, the strategies that they're using also does favor development in this area and bring in new investments. Okay. Then factors that hinder. Okay, one of it is the strain on electricity. all right? And you know, we need electricity, although they're coming up with natural gas and nuclear power to overcome. There is a strain of electricity, let alone load shedding, but there's a strain, you know, in the area itself. Then poor water supply in the area, right? Especially when there's periods of drought, etc. We have even less water supply. Congestion at the port of Nkura. Okay, and this will get worse if more development takes place. And then, of course, the pollution that could arise from all these activities, and with the new pollution laws, where you are fined, may not discourage certain investors who don't want to pay those things. So these are realities that do happen. Another smaller factor is the distance from mining products. Many of the mining products are in the inland. Example, things like coal, iron ore, right, which are found more inland in this area. And another smaller one is your limited investment incentives, especially from government. You know, we need to continue having investment incentives, you know, cheaper taxes or cutting away the red tape in terms of applications, but it's no financial assistance, whatever. So there is limited, although the initiatives that have been put forward have made this place successful to a certain extent. Limited investment incentives from government is having a negative impact on investors. Okay. Now, economic impacts on this. Now, note, I will be discussing this, but the same things will be applying for the Wild Coast SDI. All right, but I'll talk about that later. So let's look at these things. It creates employment. How? Okay, your qualifier, as you guys were talking about. How does it create more employment? Okay, of course, it's obvious that as more industries come in, production increases, there'll be an opportunity now for more employment, more jobs in the area, therefore creating more employment. All right. That's an economic factor. Remember, employment is economic and social. You have to put it in different contexts to make it economic and social. Okay. More people earning. Now that there's more people employed, you will find that if more people are employed and earning, greater income for the area, which will result in more people buying goods, and there will be a larger market. And if there's a larger market, it will obviously increase the production. There's your explain how again. You understand? Because they'll produce more goods. Okay? So there's a larger market for goods, and therefore there'll be an increase in production to create to meet the demand for the larger market. The multiplier effect, okay, will happen down here, and this is industries that encourage other industries that are linked to it. For instance, your motor car. I know you guys, young people, you love to do your cars up. You put those boot spoilers, I know they still call them that, or those skirts and those sound systems that vibrate the car. Okay, but you find things that are industries that are linked, like let's take the automotive. You may find that those little accessories, the tire industry, the windscreen industry. So it brings in more, all right, industries, okay, as it comes through, and the buying power of locals increase. Okay, so we're looking at how many times money does flow, also linked to the multiplier effect, does flow through the economy, because now if the buying power increases, there will be an increase in production, there will be more industries popping up, or more of the same ones to cater for the demand, and if that happens, there'll be more employment, and if there's more employment, there's a bigger market for goods, and there'll be more production, so money will flow through. all the time, and so many times it will be going through. So the buying power increases. Okay, it promotes development of new and existing infrastructure. All right, because we have those industries, all right, that are coming up. We have to build more roads, more effective roads. We have to upgrade roads. All right, especially I'm talking here, efficient transport networks to move raw materials and finished goods. So we need effective. We have to create more power lines to supply electricity to more parts, more potable water, all right, which will then service the areas. So infrastructure will develop, all right. And what else will happen? It promotes domestic and international trade. Again, your question, explain how, all right. What's happening now is that if you producing goods, okay, and you selling them, there'll be more international trade, all right, with you. Plus, if your area is actually blossoming, more investors want to come in, all right. Beside that, instead of buying things from overseas, you are producing them so the domestic, the local market, the people within the country will be buying from there. So it's going to promote both trade, all right. It contributes significantly to the GDP of RSA. How? If you're producing goods and services in the country, that is the GDP, the goods and services produced within the country by citizens and non-citizens for a period of time, example, a year, all right? So if you're producing goods and services, then it definitely contributes to the GDP of the country, besides your taxation, etc. It promotes investment in RSA. If you have this beautiful infrastructure, you find production happening and it's a success. All right, definitely there'll be more investments, creating those initiatives, etc. And of course, skills development in the area. The more skills, that is why we're having those training centers, etc. And if the training centers are working and more skilled people are coming out to do the work in the area, obviously with machinery and things, the production will increase. Okay? Social impacts, again, you'll notice the available of employment opportunities there because of the various industries, etc. And if you put it in a social context, by having many industries, there's more employment, more people become employed. And if they become employed, obviously they'll have money to improve their quality of life. Can you see the two different contexts that we put it into? All right. There's more investments, all right, and greater income to the area, all right, which then actually increases the earning potential between the people and better salaries. How would that happen? Okay, with all these different types of industries coming in and with all this technology, etc., that's coming in, people will require skills. Or with this electronics and robotics and all these new things that are coming up, you understand they require new skills. And obviously, that is why we're having our training centers to cater for skills and new skills, etc. And by getting all these skills, obviously, if you're more skilled, you get a higher salary. Okay, from there. So therefore, your earning potential will also increase. Okay. Poverty is reduced, obviously, through employment. People earn money, all right, and therefore they can afford their basic needs. That's you explain now, all right. Improvement in quality of life, standard of living and quality of life, because you can afford, you're employed, you can afford your basic needs. And of course, as you become more skilled, etc., you can also afford your wants and therefore improving your quality of life. And then accessibility to services and facilities like education, Remember, there's a need now for training centers, more colleges, etc., more education centers to cater for this demand for all the skills, etc., that are needed. Obviously, the health departments also and various other services will be coming up to cater for demand. Now, of course, we must also remember when we talk about accessibility, all right, there's two ways. One, are there the education centers and the health centers, etc.? So they can be available, but sometimes financial challenges may not make it accessible. What do I mean by that? So there could be a beautiful hospital nearby, but if people don't have money, maybe if it's a private hospital or an education center, all right, they can't afford to go there, so it's not accessible to them. So accessibility is having it available and being able to afford to go to it, having the money, being employed. Okay, so Vadanyo explained how also, but please look at the other video, all right, on that too. Okay, righto. Let's go now to the wild coast. Let's get wild, all right, on the coast. I'm just kidding. Okay, the wild coast, which again is also in the Eastern Cape, all right, and that, if you look at it, covers these areas. Okay, it's located along the east coast of the Eastern Cape in South Africa. All right, the region stretches from East London in the south to the border of KwaZulu-Natal. Okay, so it's in Eastern Cape. What's the big thing here? Promotes economic growth through public and private investment. All right, it wants investment from the public also and from the private sector. And its focus is on the Wild Coast region, a very beautiful region, learners, with the scenery, etc. So the main ones here that it promotes businesses is in agriculture and tourism, especially ecotourism, which I'll talk about just now. All right. What's its big thing? It wants to increase employment in the area, particularly for women. Okay, because in many instances, men have left to look for employment in other areas, and there are many women in poverty, etc. So general employment, particularly in women. Some industrial activity sectors focused on, okay, ecotourism. All right, what is ecotourism? I know sometimes we just put words and you have a challenge understanding it. So I'm giving you a little description in terms of the industrial activity. The main motivation of tourists is the observation and appreciation of nature. Okay, that's what they do. It's based on nature. Plus, it's based on the traditional cultures prevailing in the natural areas. And these areas, like in all of South Africa, have rich cultures. Very interesting. You understand, I was so interested when I visited the Eastern Cape of the different rich cultures that bring so many values. And of course, people want to see that crafts produced by different cultures, etc. Okay, so that's one. And then it's agro-processing. And again, we just leave words. What is it? It's manufacturing of goods from agricultural, fishery, forestry-based sectors. That's agro-processing. And then, of course, together with all these activities, etc., we need service providers, etc., to provide with technology, advice, all right, logistics and all these things. So therefore, we have the allied services which are popping up, professional and non-professional services supplied to clients. Okay, and that pops up due to the growth in ecotourism, agro-processing, etc. Learners, if you look at this, you can see the beautiful, one of the many things that offer along this wild coast. Okay, so you will find beautiful sandy bays and ocean and waterfalls like this, and all the natural products, etc. You'll find wild coast foods. I'm getting a bit hungry thinking about the word foods, but I'll eat later. I must do with this lesson. Okay, so it's really, really an area of potential. Factors that favor, obviously, that stands out first is the scenic beauty of the wild coast. There are game reserves, the ocean, the sandy bay, the open beaches. You understand? Beautiful area. You can just look at this one down here. All right? Beautiful. All right? As recreational facilities. Okay? And also, as I mentioned, it's a rich cultural heritage. Okay, people are following rich culture, which determines their lifestyles, etc. And like as I say, it's not only here, but in many parts of South Africa, we have valuable and rich cultural heritage, which attracts people to the area. Okay, it makes it ideal for the development of strong eco-tourism industry. Then the developing into Wild Coast Toll Road. All right. Actually, as we've been doing spatial development initiatives, you need well-developed infrastructure to go through so that it can attract investors, because it creates so much accessibility. But I'm using developing because there are challenges relating to the development of this road. But as it's being built, it will be an advantage to the people around the area, with the bridges coming over the rivers and river mouths, etc. Okay, so that is definitely for infrastructure development. A suitable climate for various agricultural products, and the list is endless, all right, because of the climatic conditions. And of course, pineapple. Look at this variety here: pineapple, tea, and sugarcane. I've taken 3 different products. It tells you all this can be grown there, and I've left etc. because there's so many of them. All right, and a large amount of land available for agriculture, etc., is in this area that can be used. Also, you can see this N2 here on the sketch that's being planned, and will create accessibility as more and more development happens. Okay, then factors hindering: lack of facilities. There is facilities, but not enough to cater for the demand that the area wants to create to bring in investment. So it can't cater for accommodating a high number of tourists. It is growing, but more and more needs to be coming in so that we can create facilities and take a large number of tourists, bringing all that economic input into this area, which we want to bring more employment, jobs, or whatever you call it, that will uplift people. Lack of community awareness and involvement in the tourism development. Okay, it may sound what is really going, but remember, the Eastern Cape also, like in other regions, is steeped in rich, valuable culture. And this has determined people's values, their lifestyles, and their activities are linked to the rich cultural heritage. All right, and it has been working for them. It's brought in beautiful values. And I always say, like every part of South Africa, if we look at our rich cultural values, and to then move away from that rich cultural values and to get involved in something else, does create challenges. All right, and sort of being cautious with regards to that. So that's the challenge that we have here. All right, challenges regarding the development of the N2 toll road, the Wild Coast toll road. All right, so that also because of the cultural values and unity amongst communities, this road was going to cut through the area of the community, and people feel that this is going to split the community, the unity of the community, and they do have valid points with regards to that. In fact, they were suggesting it to build around from about 10 kilometers away from where some of the communities are located, so that we can keep the communities together, we can keep that rich cultural and unity in there. So these are challenges that actually have regarding that toll road itself. But you can see the toll road here has been planned. It's going to have bridges cutting, creating valuable accessibility to the area. Obviously, as I said, there'll be more of this challenge as more development takes place, things like traffic congestion, pollution again. And, as I said earlier on, if you're polluting and you're overdoing it, there are fines, and some companies are reluctant in terms of paying those fines, etc. So those could be hindering factors. Okay? Now, when I go here, you'll notice there's nothing, because the factors are basically the same, the impacts, all right? You will find the same thing here also, because one of the things is to create employment. And if employment, there'll be greater markets, all right? As indicated there, multiplier effect, there'll be other industries that are linked to these ones. So this list is actually the same, that the factors will be there. You talk about contribution to the GDP, there'll be more services, promotes investments in the RSA. Yes, that's what you want. Okay, and even if you go to some of the social factors, and I'm not going to go through all of them again because I've discussed them under the IDZ, availability of employment opportunities in the ecotourism, all right, more investment, greater income to the area, earning potential increases as you would need more skills, etc. So all these things would be the same. Poverty will be reduced. It'll improve people's standard of living. But what you need to do, learners, is to put it into context of the Wild Coast SDI. Okay? Make sure when you're talking about those sort of things, you relate it to that SDI. Okay? And that covers all your sections. And please note again, learners, that the other sections have already been the prescribed sections for 2023, as I highlighted earlier, covered in my previous presentation. And if they demand social impacts, etc., or economic impacts, it'll be more or less along the same lines. Learners, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'm sure it's going to contribute to you doing us all proud. And remember, the two people that you need to be too proud to is yourself and me, because we are special. All right, so all the best, learners. Study well and smart. Goodbye.